Today, we are going to be cooking sausage rolls. And what a sausage roll is, it's a bit of sausage wrapped up in puff pastry and baked. It is a common treat that we have in our household, especially around the holiday times. It is something that, to my mind, is a very British food because the only people I know who've ever served them are my British family. So we're going to start with sausage. We're using regular sausage because we were unable to find the savory sage sausage. So what we've got here is an herb mix. Okay, I'm going to tell you what it is, and then if you check back in a little bit, we'll have this video put up on YouTube after it's been properly edited, and we'll have a list along the side showing exactly what the ingredients are. But what we've got is we've got a pound of regular sausage, we've got a quarter teaspoon of onion powder, 2 teaspoons of rubbed sage, a 3/4 teaspoon of salt, 3/4 teaspoon of pepper, 1/8 of a teaspoon of garlic powder, and 1/8 of a teaspoon in dried oregano. And I've got that in here kind of mixed up a bit. I'm just going to dump that on there. Okay, and then that's basically all we've got for that. But what we're going to do then is just mix it together. This is the part where we get to do basically it's like playing with Play-Doh. So we're going to make sure it's all collected up by the pork, and we're just going to squish it around, make sure it's all mixed in. There are other things that you can add to the pork. I know that when my mom taught me the recipe, one of the things she suggested was that you add stuffing, so like sage turkey stuffing, or really any other kind of stuffing that you think sounds good. Now that does expand the volume of it by quite a bit, and you can add breadcrumbs. Like with a meatloaf, you can do pretty much anything you want with the sausage if you want to make it a little bit different, but I like it just sausage. We're going to do it with this sage mix. Okay, so now that we've got it pretty well mixed up, okay, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to split it into 4 roughly equal chunks, because we are going to end up with 4 sets, 4, not really batches, it's one batch, but we're going to need 4 different chunks of sausage. That's not mixed in real well. There we go. So we're going to take that. I am going to go wash my hands real quick because covered in sausage stuff, and we'll be right back to our kitchen. Sorry, the sink is far from the counter. I apologize for that. So we're going to take this real quick and stick it in the fridge because it helps to be a little cooler. We just added a bunch of heat with our hands. Okay, so that's it for the sausage. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to get our pastry ready. Let's see. It looks good. I'm also going to show you what some tools we're going to use.
Steve wants to know if it's a Chef Ramsay in the kitchen.
Not exactly, no. I think I'm a good cook, but Chef Ramsay is capable of being a good cook over and over and over again, 150 times in a night without making any mistakes. That's not me. So this is what you need: a cutting board, or you can, any clean surface that you're going to be putting your pastry out on. You need a dough roller. You need your cutting shears. These are my fancy ones. They come apart for easy cleaning. But, a pair of clean scissors that you haven't used for anything else is fine. And my basting brush, which we will explain later as we go. You're going to need 1 egg in a small dish. Some people will probably tell you to break that up and make sure you're not including the yolk. I like including the yolk. I know you're not supposed to, but I usually include the yolk. I always include the yolk. We're going to set that aside. Gosh, dog. touch. Okay. We also have a small container of water, which will help us make the pastry stick when we want it to stick, and keep it from sticking when we don't want it to stick. Well, okay, the flour will do that, which is the next thing. And that's just plain white flour. All right. And then the final thing that we're going to need is our puff pastry sheets. They're just regular Pepperidge Farm puff pastry sheets. Make sure you get the sheets and not like cups. And phyllo, you shouldn't use phyllo dough. That's a thing. It's a little too flaky. And you can also use pie dough. So if you've got a pie crust that you want to use, you can use that as well. Now we're not going to be using a lot of flour, but we are going to sprinkle some on our surface. Okay, and this is just so that the puff pastry doesn't stick. And we're also going to put some on our roller. So we're going to rub this in a bit. You can see all the nicks and marks on our poor cutting surface, but that's okay. That's what they're for. Okay, make sure everything has at least a little layer of flour. It doesn't need to be a lot. All right, we're going to go ahead and open up our sheets. Actually, before we go too much further, we are going to want to heat up our oven. You're going to want it to be at 400 degrees. So let us do bake 400. And start. Okay, so we've got that heating up. And we're going to open this. And there are actually two sheets in here. So we're going to take one, set it out, take the other, set it aside. So we need to unfold it. Make sure you get rid of the wax. A little bit of flour on this thing already, but this isn't quite big enough, which is where this comes in. And you don't want to put a lot of weight on here. You're just pressing lightly, and you see that it kind of expands out, right? So if you need to do a bit in the middle, you can do a bit in the middle to try and push it out. And probably what we'll do at some point is, instead of using the roller, we're just going to go to our fingers. You can do that too if you don't have a roller. Let's make sure we're not sticking. There we go. You don't want to add too much flour, or you'll change the consistency of the dough, and we don't really want to do that. All right, so there we go. That's probably big enough. I'm going to take one of my fancy cooking shears, and we're just going to cut it in half. Okay, so 2 sheets that are cut in half. That's why we need the 4 sets of sausage. Okay, so once you got this, we're going to go grab some sausage. Okay, and we're going to want to basically turn it into a long thing instead of a ball. And you want to get it as close to the end, each end as you can. Try and keep it about even, like that. So we're going to get this pretty well done in the middle, like that. So it's in the middle thing. We got it relatively even all the way across. Okay, and here's where we're going to use our water. You're going to take the water and basically just dip a couple fingers in it and rub it along one edge like this. You don't want a lot of water, just enough to make it slightly gooey, because this is going to make it very sticky and gooey, so that when we roll it up, it'll seal. So the side opposite the water, fold over, okay, and then roll it there, and that puts your double layer on the bottom. And then we're going to lengthen it out, and if you look, we're even longer than how it ended up, the dough ended up. Okay, like that. And here's where kitchen shears are just the exact right thing to use. So we're going to put these together so that we have our scissors, basically. And we're going to pick a point that's roughly in the very middle, and we're going to cut. Okay? You take a little bit more, depending on how good your scissors are. We're going to cut again in the middle there.
Hey, Dolby would like to know if you smacked the pastry, if that's an important step.
I did not smack the pastry. It was behaving, so I didn't feel. I don't feel it's necessary. I don't really. I mean, if you want to, there's nothing wrong with it. I just rolled it out, pressed it out to get a little bit more area, and now it's good. If you feel that puff pastry needs to be spanked in order to make it taste right, go for it. Okay, so each time we're doing a cut, we're cutting it roughly in the middle. Okay, so that we have 8 sausage rolls. All right, we're going to set this aside for just a very brief moment because I want to show you how we're putting them on the pan. This is something I prepared ahead of time. It is a cookie sheet with tin foils and a little bit of cooking spray. So it's not complicated. Okay? I'm just going to set them out like this. I start in the 4 corners. It helps me keep them even. Whatever arrangement you like will work as long as you keep them relatively far away. Okay? So there we are. That's how the first set's going to go on. But we have more to go. So we'll bring back our cutting board, set aside the prepared ones, and we're going to go get ourselves another bowl of sausage.
Silvertree says you forgot to vent them.
I did not forget to vent them because I'm not done with them yet. But they do need to be vented, and I'll explain that when we get to it. So we're going to go ahead and make our next set, and it is exactly the same thing. I didn't do a real good job of pressing it all the way over to the end, but we'll go ahead and get that done. There we go. So we've got it all the way at the end.
Fujiko has chimed in and said this is top tier British cookie.
It's sausage, it's bread, and it works. It's very tasty.
It is very tasty.
So again, with the water, we just want to get it. You don't want to soak it. You just want to get it a little gooey. Okay. Set that aside. Do the same thing. Oh, you can hear that our oven is about ready to go. That's a good thing. Okay, we're going to spread that out like that. Oops. And we're going to go ahead and cut them. So once cutting it in the middle, you divide each piece in about half, and that way you end up with 8 even, ignore this one, 8 mostly even sausage rolls. Okay, now there was a mention about venting. And basically what that means is you need the steam and grease to be able to dribble out. We are talking sausage here, so it is gonna cause some problems if you don't let it out one way or another. Oops. I have a spare. Let's put these. And here's another good reason why you want to make sure you've got your cookie sheet properly coated, because if you happen to make a mistake like I did, then you can correct it. All right, so by venting, and what is meant is we are going to take our shears again and at an angle, sort of cut the top. And that just creates a little hole that lets steam and grease escape while they're cooking. Okay? The grease is also why you don't want to use a cookie sheet that doesn't have sides, because there probably will be enough for it to leak out into your oven and cause some issues with smoke in your kitchen.
A. Dolby wishes to point out that if you vent, you're sus.
Okay, we're not playing that game right now. All right.
I don't think imposters like sausage rolls.
Now, I suppose this next step isn't required, but if you want to make the official version, it kind of is, because if you want your pastry to be shiny, You take a bit of egg, and you use a little basting brush and put a little bit of egg on here. If you don't have a basting brush, I have in the past successfully used a bit of rolled up paper towel that's been cut to create like little tabs of paper towel and use that as a basting brush. But this little silicone thing is perfect for exactly what we want to use. If you're really stuck, you can even use a barbecue brush. Okay, so we're going to take this sheet now and we are going to bake it for 10 minutes. Please note, if you're only making one sheet, you want to bake it for 20 minutes. What I'm going to do is bake this for 10, because in about 10 minutes we're going to have another cookie sheet full of these. We put the second sheet in, do 10 minutes more cooking, the first one will be done, and then we just need 10 minutes for the next one. So this, we're going to put in and we're going to set a timer for 10 minutes. All right, it is in the oven. We now want timer, 10 minutes, start. And now we're going to do it all over again. So if you missed a step earlier, now's a good time to pay attention, because we are going to make our next batch so that we can finish off this this pork. Again, just a little bit of flour just to make sure nothing sticks. You don't want a lot, just a little layer. And take it out, unfold it, get rid of the wax paper, and we're going to roll it out of it. I don't know if this is what you consider spanking the dough. I just want to get it slightly expanded so that we get more out of it, really. Okay. Make sure we're not stuck. We are not. There we go. Use one side of your shears. Just cut. Obviously, if you want to use like a knife of some sort, it'll work just fine. One, you can also, I suppose, well, okay, it won't work with these because they're cooking shears, but you could just do it like that as well, with, you know, shears that don't come apart. Now it's all messed up. Hang on. There we go. All right, set those aside. We don't need this piece right this moment. We got that. Grab another 1/4 pound of our sausage. We kind of get it all squished out so that it is more sausage shaped than ball shape. Get it so that you've got it going out to the end. Oh, we missed a bit in the middle. There we go. All right, we get a little bit of our water. We run around one end so that it gets just a little bit gooey. We don't want it soggy, just gooey. Okay. We roll it over. We keep the roll going. Press it down. I'm going to stretch it out just a little more, so we get slightly larger sausage rolls. We're going to use our kitchen shears to cut in half. Remember, you want to pick the midpoint of each piece so that you get roughly equal sausage rolls. And you know, they may require pulling apart a bit. Oops. There we go. All right, we're going to go ahead and set these aside on the cookie sheet. I will show you what it looks like when we are ready to put on the next set. You do have a second cookie sheet set up exactly like our first one. Okay. Pull that out a bit. Get our last bit of sausage ready to go. And we do the same thing. That's why we ended up with 4 little balls of sausage, was because I knew that we had 2 sheets of puff pastry per box. And so we just need to divide the sausage by 4. If you have added anything to your sausage that's going to add volume, like if you're using stuffing, And if you do use stuffing, make sure you use cooked and complete stuffing, not just stuffing mix. You want to have that pre-made. But anyway, if you're using stuffing, you'll probably get more sausage out. You may be able to get, I think my mom uses a mix that's half sausage, half stuffing. So that would double the volume. You would only need a ½ pound per box of puff pastry, or you just get 2 boxes of puff pastry and you get even more sausage rolls. All right. So we again stretch it out a bit so we get more out of it. There we go. And there we go. Each side cut part way through the middle. Okay, we're going to get these put over probably in exactly the same pattern that we had them on the other one, just because that pattern seemed to work. Okay, bring this over. There we go. Then we need to cut the vents. There we are. We're going to baste them.
Think about one of us to go into full-on Gordon Ramsay mode. I said I can call you a donkey. Okay. And actually, it would work here because it's raw!
It is raw. You haven't cooked it yet. So we're going to get this thing. The egg doesn't necessarily add flavor. It just makes the pastry shiny on top when it's done.
You donkey, it's raw!
See, when I first looked at things that Gordon Ramsay did, I was not impressed. I thought he was just a mean person. But then, the more I watched of the stuff he did, the more I realized that he's not mean. He's very passionate about food, and he likes working with people who are also passionate about food. So, if you're not passionate and you don't care enough to do it right, yeah, it angers him. It upsets him because he is so passionate. If you have seen him with kids, then you know that he can be a very patient person. If he is teaching, he is a great teacher because he is incredibly patient. And he will make sure you learn the right way to do it. And he'll make sure that, as long as you're putting in the effort and you're doing what you're supposed to do, he's a nice person and he's easy to get along with. It's when he's trying to teach you and you're either not paying attention or you're just trying to cut corners and do things faster as opposed to doing things the way it's supposed to be done, that's when he gets upset. And that's, I think, is completely understandable. And I will have to admit that right now I'm stalling because I have realized I don't have a completed item to show you and won't for another, according to my timer, about 12 minutes. Okay, we are back. Our first batch is going to be done in about 15 seconds. We're going to get this stuff out of the way. And I'm going to show you what to do with them once you're done cooking. So we've got this little grate here. Oh, hang on 1 second. I hear you. I'm coming. I'm coming. All right, so we've got this this grate here that we're going to put them on to cool. Okay, and this is what they look like when they are done. These might be a little bit undercooked, but just a little. So we're going to go ahead and put these down. Be careful, they will be hot. Oh, you know what? We're going to be slightly smarter than the average bear on these. We're going to pull out a pair of tongs. Let's get those. No, I don't want them. There we go. Now they can go. And we're just going to pick them up lightly, set them over here to dry. Oh, no, don't fall off. That one wants to fall off. There we go. And that's it. We're going to set these not to dry, to cool. I'm a doofus. So there we are, our first batch of 16 with another 16 in the oven. I'm not going to make you guys wait for that one to finish cooking, because this is pretty much the end of it right here. If you're making lots of batches, I would recommend replacing the tin foil in between each batch, because there's a good amount of grease that comes out of these things, and you don't want these to sit in that grease for an extended period of time, because then they just suck up the grease and then they're just not quite as good. If you are mixing the sausage with the stuffing, you'll probably find that those aren't nearly as greasy. And so that is it. That is our batch of very British, very delicious sausage rolls. I think I just turned off the oven. Let's fix that real quick, because we do still have another batch coming. And that batch does need another 10 more minutes. There we go. So anyway, these are a delicious treat. You can have 2 or 3 of them as a snack. You can have 5 or 6 of them as a meal. They're good hot. They're good cold. They will freeze or refrigerate if you need them to, and they're not going to suffer much. Warm them up. Just put them in the microwave for 10-15 seconds. That should do it, depending on how hot you want them to be. That is it. Our completed recipe. And we hope you tune in again next time. Thank you very much. Bye.